Hello and welcome to the journey. I am Reverend Bobby, and today I have my friend, my class president, and Morehouse brother, Ray Richardson, with me. How are you doing today, Ray?
I am fine and I'm pleased to be in your presence. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Ray. And since Ray is pleased to be in my presence, I'm pleased to be in his, and we're pleased to have you in our presence. Don't forget, log on to the channel, Gospel of Robert, G capital GOSPELOF capital ROBERT. Put the at sign in the front and hit the subscribe button so you'll get notifications when we put good stuff like this up on the YouTube. Also, to view previously posted segments of the journey, click on the live category and you can just choose one to watch. So, Ray, give myself an update and tell the people a little bit about who Ray is, what makes him tick and grind all the time.
Well, thank you, Reverend Bobby. I'm Ray Richardson. I was born and reared in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And upon coming to Morehouse in 1970, majored in English, and then went on to go to law school, Texas Southern University, and graduated from Texas Southern in 77 and went out to be a servant of the people. Having grown up in the 60s, I wanted to do something for those that were less fortunate than myself, so I went into public service and worked most of my career in nonprofits and with the federal government. And then now I'm retired and enjoying my time with my classmates.
That's wonderful. And I was I talked to Arletta yesterday, and the thing she said was, it's all in service, to be in service to others, Bobby. And as I look at us, and where we grew up, how we grew up, and different things, we've always been in service to everyone, but our people especially. And how fulfilling is that to you, Ray?
Well, I think that's what life is all about. It's about what can we do to not just help ourselves and our loved ones, but helping those that are out there in the public. That's what Morehouse is priding itself in, whether it's Dr. King or Senator Warnock or Maynard Jackson. These were our heroes coming up through Morehouse to be of service to others.
We when I was there, we used to call it Social Justice University, um, as we were going through class, because that's basically how we were tracked and how they stayed in our head, all the Dr. Thurman's writings and things like that. And it just seemed to be the track that we were on coming up in that time. And it made me feel like we were a part of something, a part of the movement. Did those kinds of things happen for you too?
Oh, exactly. In fact, coming from a Pittsburgh, which was a small city, a blue collar city, this was my first time coming to Atlanta, where you had professors, black professors. Maynard Jackson at that time was running for mayor.
Hmm.
Andy Young, these black judges, black doctors, and lawyers. See all these black professionals, and at the AU Center, that was a mecca in and of itself. Beyond Morehouse, we had Spelman and Morris Brown and Clark Atlanta University. So it was all of that did into my self-esteem. Yes.
Well, it was as Kathy and the girls say, blackety black, because it was people like us who cared about us, and helped guide us through. How important is that for people to have someone that has your back and help guide you through?
Oh, I think role models are essential. If you can see somebody who looks like you doing something, it propels you to do that to strive higher and to go to that next level. I had no idea that until I came to Atlanta and came to Morehouse. And an interesting thing, when we were at Morehouse, They never called me by my first name. Professors calls you Mr. Richardson,
Yes.
Mr. And that in and of itself gave you a certain sense of, it kind of put a rod in your back spine and said, oh, I'm not just Ray, I'm Mr. Richardson. I better respond accordingly.
And that was the thing. They gave us the space to be responsible adult men, and men that were, how would you say? I want to say behaviorally conditioned, but that's not it. And in the ways of how things went and stuff. We were um our letter brought up Naeem Akbar, who was Luther Weems when we was in school.
Yes.
And the day he got ordained, I happened to be in Atlanta and was over at Barbara King's church. She was dean of women over at Spelman when we were in school. And I was over at her church, and I was sitting behind him in the second row. And when he came down, I leaned up and I said, you remind me of my psych teacher, Dr. Williams. He said, yeah, bro, it's me. But by this time, he had changed his name, and I was down at Florida State. And when I was in St. Pete, we would run into each other. But the level of intellect and wonderful people that influenced us young in our life. What do you think kind of differences that made with us?
Well, to that very point, Dr. Weems changed his name. We were all in a process of growing. As students, we were growing, our instructors and our professors were growing, and we were all growing and sharing that knowledge together. One of my favorite professors was Dr. Michael Lomax.
Mm-hmm.
He went on to not just be an English professor, American literature professor. He went on to public service, Fulton County commissioner, and then on to president of Dillard University. And then now he's CEO of the United Negro College Fund. Mm-hmm. So all of us were continuing to grow and expand ourselves in our sphere of influence as students and professors.
What was some of the things along your 50-year career, especially nonprofits, that really stand out for you, Ray?
Well, I started off after law school. I started off working with Neighborhood Legal Services, and then at the Urban League, and then I went into the federal government. And some of the things that really stood out for me was realizing that we have to understand finances and money in this country, how money operates. The nonprofits that I worked for, we did good work, but we were always reliant on the federal government for those funding cycles. So it always turned on philanthropy and money, and can we fund this idea? It wasn't just to have a good idea, but can you get that idea funded and financially resourced well? So that was what it always stood out to me. Good work is good, but can we have some money to fund our projects as well?
We were, I was talking to Stephanie McKinney Kuti a little while ago. And one of the things in one of the organizations she's working in is, she's doing fundraising. And she said, it's hard, Bobby, because, my two go-to segments of my life is, the Morehouse Spelman and my military people. She said, but we're all always being asked for money and to fund things. And, you don't want to wear them out. But I was sharing, this is the way we've always done things. We've always had to do pretty much for ourselves for a long time without any help. Thank God we do get some federal funds. But what's one of the things you see as to how we can fund these different programs for the betterment of the people?
Well, I think it's a three-pronged approach. You have to understand the finances and having your own business mechanisms, having elected officials that are responsive to the community needs, and then having that willing heart, that political will to execute. So it's pulling for the politicians, our public servants, as well as good-minded people who are willing to help those and see areas of distress and want to improve those areas, whether it's the HBCUs or depressed neighborhoods, or just on an individual level, seeing somebody who just needs some help across the street, and let's just see if I can't help this individual. And in your area, being a pastor and a minister, you probably get calls pulled off every day, whether it's from somebody in jail or somebody in the hospital. You're seeing all types of things that even most of us don't even see in life.
That part, I was sharing some of those things with Arletta, not specifics, but we were talking about she is a school psychologist, and growing the kids and the children and the parents and everybody, and me as a minister, and the things that we've seen, we do see a lot of stuff, a lot of devastating stuff, a lot of traumatic stuff. um I worked in the homeless ministry,
Wow.
and you not, and the homelessness just takes in a plethora of so many stuff, drug abuse, um veterans, um out here, homeless, and it just took into so many stuff, and you have to wear so many hats and have so many resources and stuff, and you know, with a background like ours and stacking the resources, because we're the elders now to pass these things along. What are some of the ways? What are some of the ways that you see? I mean, I know you do it, because you were concerned about some of the brothers at homecoming needing a little bit of special assistance from time to time, and for everybody to keep a lookout on them in the brotherhood. And I think it goes further than that, and just helping to serve. Where did that come from in your life? Was it intrinsic or
Oh,
conditioned? Or
fortunately, it was from my family. My granddad was a, a Pentecostal pastor, and my uncle was also a Baptist pastor of a church. So from my the men in my family were men of God and served the community. And the women, my mother worked with mentally disturbed individuals. She was a therapist who worked with people who had mental illness and had substance abuse issues. So these were the people that helped guide me. And my aunt was a nurse at the Veterans Hospital. So all of these individuals coming up, I saw a need to help others that were less fortunate, and that set the foundation of where I got that need and that want to help. And then going to Morehouse, that's just put it on a fast track. Going to Morehouse, and where everybody was expected, not just uh, coming to a college, but you were expected to be a servant. I don't care if you went to economics, business, education, whatever you were going to do, whatever track you were on, you had to have service somewhere on that menu.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Well, I think in service to people, you really unlock all the gifts and talents within yourself.
Yeah.
What were some of the things that surprised you about Ray along the way when you were presented with some of those growth opportunities? I see you smiling.
Yeah. Well, when I was younger, I had a stutter, I had a speech impediment. And then when I came to Morehouse, I learned how to, with our English professors and literature professors, how to speak publicly. And that was a tremendous help. And also, and you will understand this more than anybody else, being a man of God and giving sermons, you begin to understand your role is to speak for those who can't speak,
Mhm,
even those who can speak the language, but they can't articulate what's going on with their families and their communities. We have to be those spokesmen, those spokespersons for those individuals.
we do, and one of the things that I found is the help. I don't know if it helped, but it opened me up so much is because people had a hard time, still do, being in touch with their feelings,
Mhm.
how they feel. A lot of influence from authority figures, from society, and those kinds of things. but how do I feel about certain things and to straighten these things out. But I found that once you become okay with you, there's that's the go signal. You can go forth and carry out your mission for the nonprofits, for the support of the people. And what sent you the nonprofit way? Because you could have made a lot of money out here being a lawyer.
I think what you bring up some very good points about what propels us in life, and what is it that is your driving force. And I think those are the issues that they had formulated early on in your life, as far as coming up as children, and then coming to college, and then going on to law school. But that inner voice inside of you, what is it that really satisfies you? And one of the things that I found, especially at Morehouse, is that you had all these talented, intellectual, young black men who could challenge you. I mean, we would have those 2 o'clock in the morning debates about life. And it didn't
Yeah,
matter whether it was about a theory of government, or a political theory, or just interpersonal relationships, or our families, whatever it could have been. People challenged us, and you had to defend your position and learn how to defend it without being mad. You had to learn how to defend and being accepting of other people's philosophies. That was, if you want to ever look at some deep conversations, I wish we could have taped some of those, whether they could rival Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, or W.E.B. Du Bois, and any of those great debaters back in history. To hear some of these young black boys talking about life at 18 and 19 was phenomenal.
but the thing is, and that I've noticed along the way, is we were having the same debates and the same conversations as WB and them.
Yes.
When Alley Pat, I was doing a thing up there at their house one time, and Hugo Oster and all the guys was around, and they acted just like we and the boys acted, just like my dad and his boys acted, in the jovialness and together, but could touch on some really substantive subjects at any time, and has that ability that we developed sitting around helped you in your life endeavors, and how has it helped
Yes. Well, on several levels. First of all, it makes you really stretch your imagination.
you?
It makes you really think. I have friends who, those who went to college and those who did not, who stayed in my hometown of Pittsburgh, never left the radius of where they were born and reared. I saw that they didn't have quite the grasp
Mm-hmm.
of what we had uh, at Morehouse, and even when I went through law school, because nobody really challenged me. I think Brother Sonny once said, "Steel sharpens steel, iron sharpens iron." And once you come away with that type of a feeling of confidence of your thought, knowing that you've explored all possibilities, you can go forward and know that you can be wrong or be corrected at times. Even in my personal life with my wife, a Morris Brown graduate, she says, "But I think so and so and so and so," and I'll say, "No, but I think this." But by the time the deal is done, we both understand how to debate and contest each other's viewpoints, and then move forward. And I think that helps, not only in business, but in also personal relationships. Sometimes when we have our meetings, our Morehouse meetings, here we are, 70 plus year old men still having debates on various issues, but yet we know how to accept that critique and criticism and move forward. And oftentimes, and most times, it's a better result because of all the different input that we've all shared in that process.
I got a very close friend here. We came through seminary, all those kind of things together, and we debate a lot still. But I always come to find out we're saying the same thing from our different perspectives, in life. One of the funny things was he had cooked, man, and he was jibber jabber in my ear, and I'm sitting there eating my spaghetti and bread and stuff. And then after we did that, then we got into not a heated discussion, but we was going at it. And he said, "Oh, but you gonna sit up here and eat my food before you get into it." I'm like, "I'm no dummy, man." Yeah. But it is that, and it's in staying focused and deliberate about what you're doing, your mission, but also being open,
Yes,
to other ideas and to other people, and to not necessarily need to know all of the background stuff in their life, but just know it's there, and that's where they're coming from. And once we sort through that, then we can have a, 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 a substantive dialogue. And I found the key to stay engaged with people, and not let them go instead of huffing off and everything. And it forms a bond that we can then, take forward to accomplish things. And you've always seemed like a person that works well with people, that understands people. And is that a developed skill?
that is a developed skill. Well, the part of it comes from again my upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
I had a large family. Now I had I only had one sister, one sibling, sister.
Mm-hmm.
She was a little bit older, 4 years older. But I had cousins, so you can learn how to mediate different situations with your cousins, and everybody has different views. I have some cousins who went on to prison. Some cousins went on to higher education. But you have to be able to work with everybody and understanding, like you said, where they come from mentally and emotionally, and being able to find one accord. How can I relate to you? Now, you may be serving some time in prison, but how can I relate to you? What areas can we agree on? And other people who may gone on and gone on to higher ed, what areas can we agree on? So I think that aids a lot. And even at Morehouse, when we were students, people may have come from Los Angeles or Chicago or come from those small towns in Mississippi. We all had our own view of life and our own view from our experiences. So sharing that, our backgrounds, and sharing our thoughts and how did we develop these thoughts, I think all of that helps to be able to, like you said, to look out to that other person, understand where they are, where they're coming from, and then understand what they're trying to say and why they think the way they think.
And you're absolutely right, because in that congregational thing of people where they're just all kind of together from all different walks of life and everything, you really get to look at people for the people they are, not where they're from, not what they experienced growing up, because our experience were the same but different. The segregational stuff that I experienced here was different than the South. But if you know Chicago, it's very segregated here. The black
Yes.
neighborhood, Polish, this, that, everybody in their own stuff. Not bad, but not good, because you have to learn to interact and deal with everybody. And I learned that at IBM,
Yeah.
dealing with everybody, because I was there. IBM means service. I was there to serve you. So yeah, your stuff usually is broke, or you got some kind of problem, which is why I'm there. And I learned to give people that 5 minutes, man, to blast you, the company, the raggedy machine they was using, and blah blah blah. But I put them on the clock. 5 minutes later, how can I help you? Then they would tell you. Then you could help them. Then you was king of the day, and they would parade you around in front of everybody and let them know that. but it's a developed skill, and I think it
Develop
takes
skill. Yeah.
a certain type of personality. And was your personality basically the same whole life, just kind of easygoing but serious over here, kind of light over here?
Well, I think so. And I think I've been fortunate in that having that family uh, foundation and then going on to uh, Morehouse to help develop it even more. And then through law school and then through my professional role. Like you used to talk about IBM. Now, people don't realize that IBM used to be pretty much an all white male institution.
We came in on the big hire when they had to get some brothers in there. That's how I got in.
And to navigate that minefield was uh, was something that we learned. Whatever arena we would go into, whether it's the IBM or the Xerox and those white men who are looking at you, what are you doing here? Or whether it's out in the public service field or in the federal government, or whatever it might be, you learn that grounding of who you are as a person, so that no matter who comes to you, you're there to assist. You're there,
Mhm.
like you said, which was very thematic. I'm there to listen to you blow off for 5 minutes. Now let's get to work.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. My grandmother always said, they can't take the knowledge that's in your head from you.
Yeah.
And I always, not to be a perfectionist and stuff, not to not make mistakes, but to do the best I could, and to become proficient at the things that I did. And I think that was a drive that came from my family situation and all those kinds of things. Because in my family, it was always the other side of midnight stuff, but most of them were preachers and educators,
Ah, uh-huh.
which were, for the Black community, that was the basis of how everything was done, how our culture done. And have you found along the way um, easy ways to mix in, culturally with others, and be who Ray is without compromising, but take a stand for Ray and who Ray is when that stuff come at you.
Yes, yes. That's I think that's one of the things that we learn is that we learn how to keep maintain our sense of self and
Mhm.
our thoughts and our abilities, but also learning how to accept others and to work through all of that other stuff. We have, as boys, you have that dual consciousness, being
Mhm.
able to know who we are, but also understand the larger society around us and be able to maneuver in both. Uh, and what they call being culturally bilingual. I can
Yeah,
talk to my relatives from the hood or go into the boardroom and be able to speak the language of those corporate individuals as well.
I learned that from my granddaddy, my mama's daddy. From the boardroom to the broom cleaning up the streets.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
knew them. He had relationship with them, and he could do the things that he needed to do. He did park district stuff and development of kids and stuff in Baltimore,
uh-huh.
and was always. My mother says, you, your dad, your granddad, you all were always out here trying to do something for the betterment of the people. And I think truly it's ingrained in us.
Yeah,
And as we said before, we were the answers to a lot of dreams and prayers the day we walked through them gates,
yes,
where now we were able to dream and things like that because of the environment, and a lot of those that come true in our lives for us to pass on. And I think we do a pretty good job of passing it on. What about you?
I think we're doing an excellent job, and this is where that that baton becomes even more important. Those that have passed on that baton to us, and now that we're at this stage in our lives, we're all in our 70s, and we have children, grandchildren, we're passing it on in the various ways that we know how to pass that baton on, whether it's through our knowledge or our wisdom or through our finances, whatever it may be. I think we're that link, that says you can make it, and I had help, and let me help you out.
And you know that us in our 70s thing right there is just a marvelous thing. You know, I mean, like, how did it happen? Yesterday I was 19.
Yes, yes.
So, Ray, this 30 minutes have gone awful fast. I thank you for being here. I thank you for having a minute with Carmen, too. But can you give the people a little bit of something to just hold them till the next time we get to visit with them again?
Well, I think the one thing that I've always remembered is that you hold on, you hold on, and you hold out. Make sure that you stay true to yourself and stay true to what you believe and help those who cannot help themselves.
And I put a big amen on that. And I thank you so much. And for everybody here today, remember, log on, Gospel of Robert, capital GOSPELOF, capital ROBERT. Put the at sign in front. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss anything. And go back and look at previously posted segments of the journey by clicking the live category. And from Ray and myself, we demand, we pray, we ask that you journey well from here. Ray, thanks a lot. Take
Thank you,
care.
sir.
And we'll talk soon. Tell the people back.